Hi, Rebecca. Can you hear me now?
Is there no volume?
Okay, cool. Hey, can you
Yes.
move these out of the way?
Like down out of the way?
Yeah, like back so I can kind of zoom out. Let me step back.
All right. Here we go. I'm out of the way.
So that's the whole thing. The actual area for the crabs is about 5 feet tall. So with the stand, goes all the way to the ground. It's about 7.5. Well, actually, almost 8 foot tall because there's only a little bit of room to the ceiling. And let me, you can see for attaching, I used a little bit of like foam insulation between the main tank and the topper. And then once we got that set on, I used the heavy duty, can't really see it, Gorilla tape on the sides to attach the topper.
Remember, that's the door sealant foam, not the spring kind.
Yeah.
No chemicals.
Yeah, the foam is actually like the kind you would use to seal around like an old window, not like the spray foam. Oh, there's a little dude climbing on a ladder, which the screen is in the way of him. There you can see him. He's kind of being busy right there. Yeah, the weather stripping, we actually lined the 65-gallon with, and then that way we can set the actual topper on top of that. That way it kind of gave it wasn't as slick, so it wouldn't move. And then plus using the heavy duct tape on the sides, that helped the whole thing from moving. And then because toppers are very lightweight glass, we didn't insulate the heat mat on the back of it just because I've seen a lot of toppers and crab tanks crack. So we figured it would be safer to not have the heat mat insulated on that, but it would still give some heat inside of it, which this is going to be a big experiment come winter time in Pennsylvania because our humidity drops to 30% in the winter. And now it's 75-80% humidity. So we're going to have to mess with that when it comes. Then we have our other tanks as well. We have 175 here, a 55-gallon here. Over here we have another 75-gallon. And I don't see anybody out in this 75. But this is the one we have our strawberries in. And I have little hissing cockroaches and stuff in here. I don't see anybody. This is our 55 with the Ecuadorians and some purples. Oh, there's a guy way up in the corner, which reflection is really hard to see. Yeah, you're welcome. We always try to help everybody with questions and whatever with our shop and everything. But there you can see that's most of the tank, which me standing right up against it, how tall it is. I'm like 6 foot tall. So does anybody have any more questions? Those I was actually experimenting, which it's probably a little questionable because they're made of PVC, which according to Lycos, due to fumes and everything from them, they might be unsafe. But reading on reptile forums, they claim they are safe for them. So it was kind of my decision only to attempt to use them in this, like in this setting, which they're away from all of the heat sources. They're not contacting the substrate, so they shouldn't leach into the substrate or anything, but they are wrapped in coconut fiber that we use when we make our ladders and other items like that. And then I just cut the pieces of pipe to length, use different fittings to get the different bends, and just put them in pieces and super glued everything together. But they will be a product that we actually will never sell unless regulations with Lycos change. Yeah, like the one thing I tried to do with this, because I noticed you see a lot of crab tanks and they have all this open space in the front of it. Everything is on the back. So I tried to fill the whole space because it just gives more options for everything. And the one thing I did, it's called corner guards that you could get at Lowe's and Home Depot. And it's little 1 inch by 1 inch plastic angle. And I take a drill bit and drill holes like every inch. And then I glue that with crab safe silicone onto the sides of the tanks. So that way I can attach, like over on this side, that's how the ladders are attached. And it's also up at the top of this to attach things forward on the tank. So then it gives you a lot more options for hanging, which I might be able to show you over here. Yeah, here you can see the pieces of corner guard. I drilled holes in them and then everything is kind of attached. And on this, everything is actually removable. Like, like the actual background is not attached to the tank. I ended up using the edge guards on the bottom and the top and fit the tank, like the background, up and into it, and then zip tied it in place on the bottom so that back will not pull out. But if I wanted to, I could take that apart and pull everything out and use the topper as something else. But yeah, part of that comes with us with our shop because we started with doing the ladders and everything else. So because we've seen people who have cool tanks, but then everything is either on the ground or the back, but bring everything forward and maximize as much space as you can for climbing. Like on the bottom, we have all kinds of stuff in the air for them to climb on, and it just gives a lot more room for them to climb about. And I can show you even in our 75-gallon, we use as much space as we can. The screen keeps getting in the way, but yeah, we have our tension rods. We make shelves on the back and we put our food and stuff in them. Back here is a bin that we have leaf litter in that's up off the ground, another tension rod. Over here we have our coconut bridges, a wheel, shelf above the wheel for climbing, and E way up in the top corner. I don't know if you can see him all the way in the very back on that white square thing. That's Gun Show. We have Shell Shop right here, 2 levels for that. Bunch of food. Yeah, and we also try to make everything that's climbable free of where the water dishes are, so it's easy to get in and out, just so you don't have to move a million things. So like with this, I can easily reach in and grab the water dishes down here, ideally with a little footstep, but there's nothing in the way for me to get them, but they have all this climbing space above, which is why I kept everything high. Well, there's a little guy right on the bridge climbing. Yeah, and this topper we've only had on for, it wasn't even 2 weeks yet. So a lot of the crabs are still figuring out they can climb up. I think they kind of get stuck in a habit where they go around and have a routine and go around the same places. Now they're like, ooh, I can go up. Does anyone have any questions? No, you're welcome. We're happy to do this, which actually, all the crabs in this tank were from our friend Ginny from Hobo Hermy that passed away like 2 years ago. Last year after CrabCon, her husband contacted us about taking her crabs. And when we did, we went to her house, actually tore down her crab tanks, which she had 375 set up in a row with this was one of her toppers on it and other ones that connected all of them. And we ended up pulling 20 crabs out of her tanks. And then we used a lot of her supplies and everything for making this one. So it's kind of for her crabs and a tribute to Ginny. There's a dude. I don't know if you can see him on the cork round on the outside edge. Can kind of see him. So far, that cork round is their favorite place on the tank. I think there was a guy. Yeah, there's a dude way up. I don't know if I can get it. The screen seems in the way. Yeah, I can't get it, but there's a dude way up in the center chilling out. Yeah, I can't get it. Let's see, buddy. Good night, Roberta. Oh, our biggest crab is out. Does everybody want to see him? Not sure what size shell he takes. Oh, thank you. Happy to help. And as long as I can find a good program, I think I'm going to try to do a topper presentation for next year, which I have a smaller topper that I want to work on to put on a 75. So we'll see if I can get motivated enough to try and get that done in the next year. Considering this one took 8 months. Good night. I don't know if this will be better with it dark. I don't have the lights on in the house to try to get more light on this, or let me try and see if it looks better with a light on. I don't know if that's any better or not. Okay, I'm assuming the fireworks mean yes. So did everybody have fun today? Yep, there's a dude right there. There's a guy there. A guy in the little holder. Bunch of guys in the back by the wheel. I hear somebody digging. And I don't know where else. The guys love the cork round right up here. That I think is our all-time favorite so far. So if you can find a big cork round, they love them as hides. They could fit like 3 or 4 of them in that easily, and they love clumping together. Thanks, Stacy. Yeah, Stacy is actually probably my crab mentor from when I was a mod. Well, before I was a mod over at the HCA. She helped me with a lot of information there, and then slowly progressed and moved on to Lycos and everything, and actually got to meet her last year at the in-person CrabCon after knowing her for, I don't know, 5-6 years or so as Got Butterflies. Yeah, and like what we told everybody else this year, Tank was all of our friend Ginny Soriano, who was the owner operator of Hobo Hermy. She passed away in 2022 at the end of May. And we didn't hear anything from her husband for like a year. And we were wondering what happened to all of her crabs. And we were talking to Mary down at CrabCon last year. And then it was like a month later, her husband contacted me. Hey, Dan, do you still have hermit crabs? I have all this stuff and we feel like we're not taking care of them and we want them to go to a good home. Do you know of anybody? And we're like, us, we'll do it. So we figured out a time and we went down there early in the morning, and it was probably the hardest thing Samantha and I had to do, but we had to tear down all of her tanks, which, like, talking to her on a day-to-day basis, she literally got done doing the tanks maybe 2 weeks before she passed. So it was one of the last things she did. And she was telling us how much time she spent on them. And then 2 weeks later, she wasn't here. And then we had to take everything down, sort through 375 gallons worth of sand and find all of her crabs, put them in a container, brought them home, got a whole bunch of her supplies, and all her crabs are in this tank. This was her topper, and a lot of the decorations, such as the flowers, this ladder, this rope bridge, were all hers. So this is kind of our continuous tribute to her. Now, we got a crab. Oh, that's actually a berry, I believe, right here. I don't know if you can see him climbing. There's two guys in that scene. But yeah, this was our very first attempt at a topper, which it took us 8 months. Actually, Colton, I don't know if I don't think a crab fell yet, but I'm sure we will hear a loud clunk and thump. But I know we had crabs fall from regular tanks, so I'm just worried about them falling and breaking the glass. But hopefully, knock on wood, that doesn't happen. But since we have a whole crab room, we come in here, but for the most part, it's fairly quiet. Yeah, there's not really too much hard stuff in here. I mean, we have a few resin logs and stuff, but falling on the sand, possibly the netting, well, our mesh ropes and bridges will help break the fall. Yeah, and I forget who was talking. I think it was Sean Miller was saying how he finds a lot of crabs in the wild with broken shells. So I guess they're used to climbing trees and falling. So I guess if it happens, well, they have plenty of shells in here and hopefully don't do much damage. I don't see anybody else. I don't know. We have 3 ruggies, 2 strawberries, and a bunch of purple pinchers in here. Oh, thank you, Stacy. It was kind of our dream for years. Once we finally moved to Harrisburg, we're like, oh, this is the crab room. So it's kind of a work in progress, and we're slowly working on the tanks, getting them up to where we would like them. Like trying to do backgrounds and additional climbing in all of the tanks. But I can give a tour of a few of our other tanks in here, as we have this one, which, well, when I'm standing right up next to it, you can see it's way taller than me. But let's see. Now, this is what it's like when you pick up a crab. But here's one of our 75 gallons, which up in the corner, you can't really see them. There's an E, I believe that's gun show, and a purple up in the corner hiding. I don't see anybody else out. Here's our 55. Actually, I don't know how to get rid of the glare from the monitor. And there's a dude up in the corner there. And we have our hissing cockroaches. I believe these are the Hobbins here, which these are all baby ones. So they don't really hiss yet. Our big giant knit isopod. Here's our 75-gallon, our other one with our strawberries and other crabs, which my very first rescue crab is still in here, which was kind of a birthday crab because I received him on my birthday along with two others, but we lost the other two, unfortunately. But that's pretty much it. Our adoption certificates from the first CrabCon and our in-person badges from other years. Our food supply. And of course, we had to buy more because it's not overflowing off of the shelves yet. So does anybody have any questions about tanks or crabs or anything else? Oh, hi, Kathy. This is a 65-gallon tank. And I believe from bottom of the substrate all the way to the top is about 5 feet. There's about 8 to 10 inches of substrate here. And it's 36 inches wide, 18 inches deep. This is about 2 feet tall, and the topper is 3 feet tall. And it took a lot of planning for the topper with trying to fit everything in and figuring out how to attach everything. To prevent drafts like coming through the tanks, between the tanks, Kathy. Yeah, let me see if I have it yet. Not sure where it is.
What are you looking for?
Oh, hold on. I'm looking for the strip of insulation.
Oh, wait, what is it?
We got insulation for like windows that is sticky on one side. We put that down on the lower tank all the way around. We left a little, maybe half-inch section or so, maybe quarter-inch section on the back to run our wire for our thermostat through. And then we set the topper on top of that, and then we used the heavy-duty Gorilla tape on the sides to attach it. And this stuff is like super strong. You could probably repair a car with that stuff. So the topper shouldn't come off. And then my favorite, which I don't think a lot of crabbers use, but it is an awesome hack for hanging stuff, which you can't do it with a, a running tank with crabs. But the corner guards, hold on a second. Hey, can you grab me a piece of the corner guard downstairs?
Sure.
Thank you. I'm having Samantha grab me a piece of the corner guards, but it's basically you put it on drywall in high traffic areas. No, Kathy, that's just one topper. You actually flip the topper upside down. So the lid is actually at the top, so the doors open, but this is actually, the top part is actually where your substrate or water would be. I know these toppers are expensive, but this one we received from a friend who passed away. Her husband gave it to us, so it was free.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, this stuff here, you can see it's flexible plastic corner guards for on corners of high traffic areas and halls and stuff. But we drill holes in with a drill bit, and then we silicone that on the sides and on the top glass. And then that way you can use that to attach all kinds of stuff, which we use crab safe silicone. And like I said, this year took 8 months. We glued that and gave it way more time to cure than other, than what's required, which is 24 hours. Now, Clover, the corner guards can work in any tank. If you want additional climbing on the sides, you can attach that. But once again, you can't do that in a tank that has crabs because of fumes. So you want to avoid that if you actually have crabs in the tank. But it also works awesome for sealing tops of tanks, how your glass has a little bit of a gap. So that way you can fill in that area around. So a crab, it's tougher for them to climb out if you have a smaller crab. Now the corner guards, we got at either Lowe's or Home Depot. They're usually in a middle of a hallway, just standing up. You can get them in, I don't know, 4 foot and 6 foot sections, and it's easy to cut down either with like a pair of side cut pliers or hacksaw or whatever. But you have to be careful when you're drilling it with a drill so it doesn't slip because it's flexible. Actually, the corner guards, I kind of put them, I don't know if you can see them up by the lights. They're kind of angled in different directions. And we have them on the side here. I don't know, you can see them right there, how they're attached. And then this side, I actually angled them, put them at different angles. There's one going down here, one there, and one running this way. So we could just attach and kind of put stuff at every angle, because like my thought is in nature, there's not anything square and straight. Everything kind of flows. So I figured by having different angles, I can make everything flow, kind of similar to nature. Let's see, the coolest thing I think I did, you can see, the strawberry, he is on, it was a piece of aquarium, like resin driftwood, and I cut it down and attached it to the back with zip ties. And well, you could see the strawberry climbing up on that now. Yeah. Hi, Brandon. Jute is mold resistant. But like us with having our shop, within the last 6 months, we discontinued using jute because our thought with it was they, like everybody says, it shouldn't have a chemical smell. And my thought and our thought with having the shop, if you go to a store and you have 20 pieces, like rolls of jute on a shelf, you grab one and you smell it and it stinks, and you grab another one off the shelf and it doesn't stink, even though it's from the same manufacturer, there's still some type of chemical in it. At least that's our thought as a shop owner. So we stopped using jute altogether. So we still have it in our tanks because we've had them and used them for years without any issues. So we still have them, but we made the transfer over to using coconut fiber and hemp, which hemp is really antibacterial and also mold resistant. Same with coconut. So they're an ideal product as well. They cost a little bit more, but we feel they're a lot safer for crabs. And Clover, for the wood in the background, this whole thing is egg crate, and we attached everything to that using zip ties, which I don't know, if I had $1 for every zip tie I used on this, I would have a lot of money. But everything is zip tied together on the background, so if I wanted to, I could pull everything off. Plus, the crabs can't really easily pick it off and make it fall because of it being zip ties. I guess if they were bored and kept picking at them, they could, but so far, so good. Does anyone else have any questions or anything? Yeah, command hooks can work, but me personally, I've never had good like I haven't had success with them. They always seem to fall off after a week or two. I mean, I tried cleaning the inside of the tanks with vinegar to clean that area really good, but it always will fall off over time. But also, all of our tanks were used, so they were originally aquariums, so that could be a buildup of whatever from it being a either saltwater or freshwater aquarium, which we clean everything the best we can without chemicals, but there may always be leftover from that. So far, well, this is relatively new. We, I believe, got the topper on July 2nd, so they're still exploring and finding out they can climb up above this level. So we haven't heard any loud clunks, thunks, booms, or bangs. But I'm sure we will one day. We'll be sitting in the living room and just hear thunk. Oh. pH down can remove bad lime scale. Yeah, we haven't used the pH down. We just basically will rinse out with vinegar and scrub and then rinse it. That I believe they should. I'm not on the up and up with the 3D printed stuff. We have some stuff we purchased, like I love this. It's a little, as a kid you had the crabby, like the sandboxes, so then the top comes off. We usually use them for either calcium or poop trays. But I would say to, like, if you have questions about 3D printing, to ask one of the shops that do 3D printed stuff, which I'm sure if they're Lycos approved, it's perfectly safe. Trying to see if I can find any other crabs. Yeah, like I said, they really love the coconut rounds. There's a dude on the top of it and looking out of it. But that is their absolute favorite place so far that they found on the topper. I haven't seen anybody venture into the wheel that's right above that. It's hard, so hard because there's so much stuff in here to see them. Oh, Kathy, they can go either way. I mean, we have ours. Well, we have a coconut round here as a climber. Well, there's another crab right behind it staring at the light. But you can flip them either way. I know Kelly Elder asked about them, and she has hers all laid out like bowls, so you can actually add treats in them. So it gives them enrichment to climb across. We always put ours with the bowls facing down just because I think it looks neater. But we also had some where the center one is a bowl, so you can hang it and then they can, like, you can use the center one as a feeding tray. But I mean, I found that with ours, our ease, we see on those all the time. Oh, awesome. Yeah, I think they're one of, like, my favorite things that we make. I just think they look cool. They're totally different than everything else that I've seen for crabs. And they take a lot of time. I mean, it took us a long time to find coconut rounds, and we order them from another Etsy vendor that's in India. and then I have to sit and drill out each of the holes. So it's 4 holes in each round, and then weave all the coconut through, like the twine to hold them together, then knot it up. So there's quite a bit of prep time involved, but I just think they're super fun and cool. And of course, nobody is on them now because I'm in the room. I see another crab starting to climb over by the coconut rounds. Yeah, last year was at CrabCon was the first we introduced them, and with us with our shop, unfortunately, we don't promote as much as we probably should. We kind of just let our shop out there for people to find. So I think we fly under the radar a lot of the times, which is okay with us because we both have very demanding jobs, and sometimes it gets really difficult to try and concentrate on the shop, taking care of all our crabs, work, doing stuff around the house, and trying to get fun times. So we're happy with how we do good sometimes with the shop, sometimes not so good. And it's kind of a hobby. We like putting stuff out there that we know is fun and safe for crabs, and hopefully people like the stuff as much as we like making it. Yeah, I don't see any more crabs. There's just that one deciding if he wants to climb up or not in the corner. Yeah, that's what we do. We consider the shop a hobby where we like doing it, and it pays for all of our crab stuff. I mean, we're not going to get rich from it. We're not going to retire early, but it's cool, especially when we get feedback like, oh, I got this. This is awesome. So that's one of the reasons why we do it. Plus, we always try to send our business cards that have the address for Lycos and everything to help educate. So people might not be looking for it. We don't like to preach, but oh, hey, oh, what's this web address? Oh, cool. Awesome. I needed that. So we like kind of advocating without advocating. Yeah, toppers are cool. They're a lot of work to do them right, I think. And what I would tell anybody thinking about a topper, make sure you know how to maintain a normal tank, because the more complex, the more issues you're going to have maintaining heat and humidity. So you need to know how to adjust and tweak things, because I'm really worried about this come wintertime, because our relative humidity in Pennsylvania will drop to 20-30%. Plus we have dry forced air, which can lower that even more. And generally like what will happen in a crab tank, because all that humidity will somehow escape out, even if you have it perfectly sealed. So you need to know how to maintain your tanks extremely well before going crazy with toppers. Yeah, so you're in a very similar environment as us, and we have thermostats and everything to regulate our temperature. We also have a heat mat on the back of the topper, which we didn't. Yeah, we have forced air here as well. And we have a heat mat on the back, but we didn't insulate it just because toppers are so much thinner than an actual tank, which I don't know if you can see. You can see the thickness between the base tank and the topper. It's like half the thickness. So we didn't insulate the heat mat on the topper just because of redirecting that heat. We feel with the size of it, it could crack easily. So it won't get as hot, but it will warm up as needed, which we don't have that heater plugged in yet. We also have an additional heater if needed on the side, as well as a one on the back. But I'm really thinking for next year. Oh yeah, exactly. They're so thin, and I mean they don't really give a lot of room. I mean, that's as high as you could get the substrate, which I believe, I don't know if Stacy Bolts is still here, but I believe she might use one of these as a tank. I don't remember, but this is going back many years ago. But I think she actually added like a lip across here to make it deeper to have the substrate up higher. But what we did when we got this topper, the original caulking was starting to separate between the glass. So before we even started doing any work on it, we went and siliconed all the way around everything to give it a bigger bead to help insulate it and hold it together. So we did a lot of prep work beforehand, just based on what I was thinking. I tend to overthink processes because of working maintenance at an amusement park. So I always just go that extra step and overkill everything. I figure it's better to over-engineer than under-engineer. Yeah, thank you. It took a bit, and it's fun doing it, but like I said, we didn't have a lot of, like, it was start and go where it would sit for a month, and I'd go back and work on it for a day or two, then it would sit, and I'd think about the process. And I think it's one of those things that you don't want to sit down and on a weekend build it. Take your time. I'm always looking at pictures, trying to figure out, ooh, I should do that, or that's cool, but I'm going to tweak it. And just kind of, I don't know, make it your own and don't try to copy. Take something that you see that's cool, but make it your own. Like, I think my favorite is all the climbing, like wood all over different shapes on the top, which they're still figuring out they can climb on, but I just think that makes it look really cool, and how we wound in pieces of plant into all of that. And it's just, I don't know, I tend to try to be creative, basically working on like random like haunted house things. I worked for years at a haunted house, like volunteering, where we would build our own sets and then act in those sets. So I kind of let my thought process flow with that stuff, and I guess it comes on to the crab tanks as well. Yeah, and like the whole thought process of it, and tried to make everything accessible on the base tank, because you need to reach in here and reach down. So everything is high in the tank, and then as you get further down, everything stays in the back. So that way you can easily reach in and change foods, change waters, and not have to mess with crabs that are up climbing around. So that's one of the things I always thought, like, I never really wanted to take one tank and stack it on the other, because it would make it way too difficult to reach in and do your daily maintenance, to pull it out and then worry about a crab being up in it and possibly falling out as you're moving it. So it took a while of just brainstorming, drawing sketches of what I wanted to do and everything else. And then that sketch turned into another sketch. And then as I'm getting ready, well, I'm going to change it up. And this too, we actually have on the side the step ladder. So if I need to access the top, or if Samantha needs to get in here because she's like 5'2", it makes it a lot easier. And at the bottom, there's a guy climbing up in the middle. Try to get a shot. There he is. So is there anybody else that has questions or anything else? Thank you, Colleen. A lot of these, like in the presentation yesterday, was from Hobby Lobby. And once again, you do the pick, scratch, smell, pick, whatever, to make sure they're safe. And then a lot of the stuff was actually from Ginny Soriano, who passed away 2 years ago, from Hobo Hermy. Like, this tank was all of her crabs. And a lot of the stuff used in this tank, well, in the topper, were hers. So we added as much of her stuff as we could into it. So it's kind of a dedication to her for her crabs. Oh, I got a dude hanging out right in this tank in front of me. He saw the food. Can't really see him that good, but there he is. These were actually from Jeannie for these lights. I'm not sure where she got them, but they plug in and then they all link together. And there's actually a dial so you can adjust how bright they are. Let me try to zoom in. So you can see the wires, how they all plug together with the wires running. And then we have them hooked up to a timer so they go off at night, and during the day they stay on. And then all our other tanks are regular aquarium lights. Oh, we currently have 4 tanks, 4 hermit crabs. We have the 65 with the topper, the Crab Pyre State Building. We have 2 75-gallon tanks and a 55-gallon tank. And then we have 3 tanks with hissing cockroaches and a tank full of isopods. Oh, and a snake in a tank as well in another room. And where our plush crab section is where our Krabby Hospital goes, which we just recently gave 3 of those away to people who got crabs 2 years ago, I believe, from the beach. And there were coworkers of Gypsy's who just bought them, and she's like, "Oh, well, you need to do the research. They're going to die." And she ended up taking them from them for like a few months to rehab them, got them ready. They did their research, prepped a tank. And then once they got everything good and those guys did good with the molting, she gave them back. They actually attended CrabCon last year. And then we had an additional 65-gallon tank, and they picked that up maybe a month ago. And then we got rid of those 3 rescues after they were rehabbed, and they took them and put them in that. So we try to do a lot of advocacy, just kind of in our own way. But I think one of our best for advocating for crabs was around CrabCon last year. There was a teacher that went on Lycos. They had 1 million questions about crabs. And she was from Pennsylvania. So I messaged her about, hey, you had a lot of questions. If you're near Harrisburg, come over to our house. We have a whole crab room. You can see everything. Ask away. We have supplies we can give you because we have way more stuff than what we can ever use. If you want to do this, you're more than welcome to have a 29-gallon tank and get it ready. And if we have crabs at the time. When you're ready, you can have them as well. So she did her research, messaged me numerous times, and then she ended up getting crabs from somebody who was looking to get rid of them. And the most awesome thing was, once the classroom started, in October, we got this picture of her and all her students with the crab tank. And then also, we got a ton of thank you letters from the students in her classroom about the hermit crabs. Yeah, we got a ton of letters from the kids from it, which I think is awesome because, well, right there, by doing that with extra supplies, we managed to touch how many kids? And what they always say is teach the younger generation. And we reached 20 kids, plus how many kids of them were going to the beach? Nope, I don't want those crabs. I want to adopt. That's what my teacher said. And it's just super cool. And we've been in contact. She has a question. Oh my God, I'm going away on Christmas vacation. What am I going to do? Okay, chill out. If you can get back in a few times during there, they'll be okay. As long as you can give them food, you don't need to dig them up. Then when you go away for summer vacation, yes, you're going to have to. And she's been doing awesome with it. Her crabs went down and molted, came back up, and it's been an exciting experience doing everything with her. So to me, that's one of the best ways to get involved with a teacher for advocacy. Don't see anybody else in here. I hear noise though. I hear noise, but I don't know which tank it's in. Oh. We have a berry out. Here is our stack of painted shells that we've got crabs in. that changed. So whenever we get a crab in a painted shell and they pull out of it, we put them in that. And I know Stacy has been collecting them for when she does all of her trips to reptile shows and everything. So if you have any painted shells, you can send them her way. And I know she's appreciative of getting more and more. Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns, anything else? Yeah, the whole more tanks. I remember, well, we moved up from the original 20-gallon to a 40-gallon. Oh my God, this is so big. This is more than enough. And then we went and got another one and another tank. And it's like, oh, well, I have a 55. Oh, well, we got a 75. And I don't know where it stops. No idea where everybody is. They're all hidden. Does anybody have questions about the tank? Trying to run a shop or anything like that? And pretty much all of our tanks we found on either Craigslist or Marketplace or somewhere. So we never went and actually bought a new tank. Well, our original upgraded one was a 40-gallon, which we bought. But aside from that, every other tank we've picked up used, along with the topper and everything as well. Oh, thank you. The main thing I can say with building a topper is take your time and think about how you're going to do it, and do not rush, because I don't know, I found when I do something, I'll think something's awesome one day, then the next day, not so much. And then I'll come back to another process. So don't feel like you need to knock one out in 2 weeks. This took me 8 months or so of off and on work, and I'd leave it sit, let things cure, and kind of let my thought process roll around, and then draw everything out roughly how you want it. You don't have to be exact for scale. Just kind of take your time. Well, I want to put this here, this here. Oh, wait, no, this will be better. And even if you lay out like the egg crate for the size that it's going to fit in, and lay out all your stuff on the ground first to get a good scale, and then go from there. Like this back is actually 2 pieces of egg crate, and then I glued not glued, but zip tied the background on, and then just sort of laid everything out how I thought it would look cool. And then, well, okay, I'm going to move this here, and tweak it until I was happy. And then once I did that, I zip tied everything, made sure everything would fit in place, and then I worked from the back forward. But all right, I guess if nobody has anything else, it's a little bit after 6. So I think oh, okay, hold on. Let me try to get a little glare down. So inside, there's a moss pit. I don't know if we can see them. Somebody in the moss pit there. I don't know where though. Oh, there's a dude way up climbing high. Yeah, but that's the whole tour of the Crabtopolis State Building. Yeah, you're welcome. I could see a leaf moving up in the leaf litter pit. All right, I guess I'm going to sign off, and I will see everybody tomorrow. So, good night, everyone.